What is greenwashing? You know what a whitewash is, don't you? That happens when the truth is swept under the carpet. Here is an example. Barbie, for decades, has been an icon of girlhood. You know Barbie dolls? It's arguably the world's most popular doll. It was almost aggressively a white-skinned, blue-eyed blonde. It was sculpted to European-descended perfection. So was her companion Ken. There are now black Barbies and other dolls for non-white children and for white children who want them. Yet the hallowed status of the white Barbie in our culture, and until recently, the overabundance of white protagonists in fairy tales and children's stories, from Cinderella to Goldilocks, has created a whitewashed childhood world. Think about that. That is an example of a whitewash. Now, a greenwash means quite a different thing. Greenwashing is a harmful and deceitful way of advertising that a company is greener than it really is. The range of greenwashing can be as subtle as a misleading package, all the way to fossil fuel companies claiming to be eco champions. Either way, when greenwashing happens, we need to call it out so that the companies that practice it are forced to account for their actions. Volkswagen is a classic example of greenwashing. That happened when Volkswagen admitted to cheating emission tests. It did this by fitting its vehicles with a defect-devised software. Whenever the vehicle was being tested by regulators for emissions, Volkswagen's software could detect the test and wait for it, then alter the vehicle's performance to reduce the emission level. While all this was going on, Volkswagen portrayed to the public that its vehicles had eco-friendly features. In actual fact, Volkswagen's engines were emitting up to 40 times the allowed limit for nitrogen oxide pollutants. That is one example of greenwashing. The fuel giant BP changed its name to Beyond Petroleum. It made public announcements that it had added solar panels to its gas station. In December 2019, an environmental group called Client Earth lodged a complaint against BP. These ad campaigns call BP's global Keep Advancing and Possibilities Everywhere focused on BP's low carbon energy production. In reality, more than 90% of its annual expenditure had been on oil and gas. So Client Earth accused BP of misleading the public with its advertisements. The complaint was lodged with the UK National Contact Point for the OECD Guidelines for Multinational Enterprises, or NCP. NCP is a body that sits within the UK's Department for International Trade. OECD guidelines are recommendations addressed by governments to multinational enterprises operating in or from countries that adhere to these rules. The guidelines encourage global companies to incorporate social, human rights, and environmental considerations into the way they do business. So a precedent against greenwashing was made. In its decision, NCP found that Client Earth had a legitimate interest in the complaint and that the complaint was material and substantiated. In February of 2020, BP withdrew its advertisements. BP CEO Bernard Looney promised an end to corporate reputation advertising. BP committed to redirecting its advertising resources towards advocating for progressive climate policies. As BP had withdrawn its ad campaign in June of 2020, the NCP stated that it would not proceed further with complaint. BP was clever. Client Earth lawyer Sophie Marjanak said, and I will try to quote her in full, as follows: "We took issue with BP giving the impression that it's racing to renewables, that its gas is cleaner, and that it is part of the climate solution when the vast majority of its expenditure is still on fossil fuels. Today's decision sets a precedent, she said, for people to use the OECD guidelines to hold companies to account for their greenwashing on the basis of consumer interests, including in their advertising. Fossil fuel companies using advertising to mislead the public over their climate impact have been put on notice, she continued. Ideally, all fossil fuel advertising should be banned unless it comes with a tobacco-style health warning about the risk of climate change, including the dangers of continuing to extract and burn fossil fuels. The public, she said, should not be misled, and fossil fuel companies must be accountable for the damage they do, unquote. Alarming escalations. In recent years, greenwashing has escalated alarmingly. This is because the growing consumer demand for greener products. So businesses use all manner of underhand tactics. So a greenwash occurs when a company says it uses sustainable practices, but it does not in fact do so. It's all a public relations tactic. Businesses go out and hire public relations professionals instead of hiring sustainability experts. PR experts are asked to improve the company's image as a sustainability practitioner. Some trees are planted in a blaze of publicity, or some river cleaning is done over a weekend. In reality, the boards do nothing meaningful other than spouting the inanities scripted by the PR moguls. They do not adopt meaningful long-term sustainability policies, and none, even if suggested, are put into practice. The training given to the management is largely ignored. The word sustainability rears its silvery head in websites and annual reports. That is all. Nothing more is done. That is greenwash. It is lip service in its true sense. If you are a business sincerely concerned with sustainability, this is what you should do. With the buzz on greenwashing, companies need to be careful of presenting baseless claims of being environmentally friendly. It takes only one complaint to instigate an investigation against the claims your business makes in the social media. Once your business is exposed, a drop in profits is only the beginning. The worst is complaints of lower consumer confidence. A reputation lost is hard to regain. Consumers do not forget or forgive easily. The question is, how long will you ignore sustainability practices before your customers refuse to have anything to do with your products? Think on it. Goodbye.